you're walking out on stage with bullet holes in your t-shirt and smoke coming out of your back. You didn't walk away unscathed. This is scathed. This is the definition of scathed. So it's silly. There's no self-awareness.
I study rap battles for a living.
Okay, I'm going to be perfectly honest here. I'm not a Drake fan. So if this is a glowing review of this album that you're here for, you might as well exit out now before 30 seconds and it gives us that view. Don't give us that view. However, I did try to go into this fair and trying to give it a real shot. And I don't want this episode to come off as total Drake hate. That's not what it is at all. But I definitely have some issues with this album. So I thought it would be fun to bring you in because I know you were a Drake fan way more than I have ever been.
Yeah.
I've liked a few Drake songs, but I've never been a Drake fan. I've never liked the whole Drake album. I would not put him anywhere near having a classic album. But he has some great songs. So we both listened to the album today. What's up, everybody? I'm Chris, old head dad. You are?
I'm Katie, new age daughter.
And we both listened to the album today. What was your first thought when you went in?
It was a hard listen. It took me a really long time to get through it. Mind you, I was at work, but I did have to stop a couple times. Man, just it all sounded like one song. I
had the exact same experience. Like I had to keep looking at my phone to see, is this still the same song? Am I on a different song now? I just wasn't sure. And it's not that like the beats weren't different or the tempos didn't change a little bit. It's just that the auto-tune was so present that that's all I got for the first 8 songs or something. Was it just felt like this barrage of auto-tune. And the thing is, I'm not mad at that. It's not for me, you know? It's not an album I'm going to listen to. But some people are going to like that. Like this is a sound that obviously works for somebody, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So somebody's going to listen. There's clearly an audience for this. Drake is not dumb. Drake's not entirely dumb. He knows his audience clearly, or he wouldn't be the superstar that he is.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that like this kind of music. Was there a point where it changed for you beyond just the auto-tune? It all sounds like one song.
Yeah. But it turned into more of a comedy for me.
A comedy?
Yeah. Where each song was just so laughable. Now, mind you, there were some good moments. There were some, this is something I could, kind of move to a little bit. But it just, I don't know who allowed them to put these songs out. Because some of them were absolutely ridiculous. But we'll get into those specific songs.
Well, I agree with you. I had that thought several times throughout the album, was like, Drake must just surround himself with yes men who are like, yeah, you're the greatest. You know what you're doing. You're like, this is brilliant. Because there were some songs that were a miss, like a big, big, big miss. And maybe they're not a miss for his fans, for the pop audience. If he's if his goal with this is 100% just to be a pop smash, he may indeed do that. I have no idea because I don't really listen to pop music like that. I'll listen to the great pop songs. There are no great pop songs on this album. There's barely any good pop songs in my opinion. But my opinion doesn't necessarily count for pop songs and this audience. I'm trying to be fair here. I'm very biased. But what I think was the biggest miss is that Drake has spent a lot of his career trying really hard to be accepted by hip hop. And he's done so many anti-hip hop things in the last few months that a few songs he put on here should not have been allowed to see the light of day if he ever wanted to have that hip hop card back. If he ever wanted to have credibility in the hip hop space as a hip hop artist, the songs never should have seen the light of day. That was my thought. But to get back on track here before we start looking at some of the issues I have with this album. The first half of the album I thought was like, meh. I could see somebody, vibing to it in their car or while they're cleaning their house or something. The second half of the album, I was like, oh, you should have cut this off after track 9 and just put it out like that. And it would have been a far better project.
Absolutely agree.
Maybe you could take one or two songs from that back half and put them in the front and you'd be fine.
Yeah. There was one or two songs at the very beginning where at the very start of the song, I'm like, okay, this had potential. I could maybe get down with this. And then something within the song just completely went the opposite direction. And it stayed the opposite direction the rest of the song.
That's funny.
And
that happened.
It's funny.
Go ahead. No, say what you're saying.
I was just going to say, it's funny that you said that, some of the songs might be good pop songs or good songs you listen to at your car or whatever. Because I was re-listening to some things while making dinner, and it just ended up being background noise. Like I wasn't getting into anything.
Yeah.
And normally I love just singing to the top of my lungs when making dinner, dancing around while I'm cooking.
Yeah.
None of that happened. None of it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say something happened in the song that threw you off, because that happened to me a lot in this album. And maybe it's for the first 9 songs, I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like I'm in a heightened state of picking at Drake, because I am a Kendrick fan. So I thought maybe it's just me, but then it just kept happening. And what I ended up with is this man has no self-awareness. He has no idea that these are missteps. He can't. A couple of them, I think maybe he thinks they're cute, but they're just not,
Yeah.
That's my take anyway.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just jump into track number 10 is where it all went really south for me. That's Give Me a Hug.
Oh, I'm so glad you're bringing this with us. I'm so glad. I wish you could see the notes that I have for this song.
If I hadn't had Harper today, I would have just done a reaction to this song. I'd have turned it off 6 seconds in and I'd have done a reaction to it. But then I thought, you know what? It doesn't deserve that. And here's why. Because in his lawsuit, he went at reactors.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as I'm concerned, no one should be reacting to these songs. Like let it die its death, however it's going to die. Or live how it's going to live. But nobody should be reacting to these songs. I do think it deserves a review. I don't think it deserves a good review, but I think it deserves a review. This song, look, you can't, if you're talking hip hop, because that's the paradigm I am in here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the paradigm he wanted to be in. I mean, he said to LeBron James in an interview on the barbershop, I study rap battles for a living. Those are his words. Those are his exact words. If I don't get flagged for it, I'll put the clip up.
I study rap battles for a living.
I study rap battles for a living. That's what he said. He's going to fail the test because if he studied rap battles, he should know, A, you can't lose and then sue. B, you can't lose, then sue, then diss somebody again. You can't lose, then sue, then act like you didn't lose when you're suing because you lost. It makes no sense at all. There's no humility. There's no accountability. There's no self-awareness at all. So this song, until this song, I could have been like, okay, Drake is doing what Drake should probably do. He's putting out an album for his fans. And here's the thing. We haven't even talked about Party Next Door because where is Party Next Door on this album? It's a Drake album.
It is. He just features in some of the songs.
And I suspect he does that because Drake is fighting with UMG, so he puts Party's name on it and makes a Drake album featuring Party Next Door so that he can put it out under a different label instead of breaking his contract with UMG. That's what I suspect.
Right.
And that's a smart move, I guess. But I didn't know Party before this album, and the little bits I heard, I would like to hear more Party because it doesn't sound like he's a man-child the way that Drake is.
No. This album is a extremely terrible representation of Party Next Door because I enjoy listening to him. I enjoy his first 3 albums. I think they're all called Party Next Door 1, 2, and 3. I think
that's what I saw.
Yeah. I enjoy those albums. I think they're really great R&B albums. This album did not do justice to who Party is at all.
Well, that's good to know, but I got the feeling that this is the kind of music Party makes, and it's the music he wants to make, or something similar. It's what he wants to be doing. If I was him, I'd be pissed that Drake took this over and turned it into what he turned it into. Because this song, in my opinion, there still would have been misses on the album. But if this song had been removed, I could still say, okay, Drake did what he should have done. He put out an album for his fans. He should forget about the battle. He should move on.
Yes.
But that's not what he did. And there's a lot of things wrong with this song. A lot. Not just his lack of self-awareness, lack of humility. You can't diss a bunch of people, be like focused on all of this angry energy, but then in the same song say fuck a rap battle. You can't do that. It doesn't work. You come off as an idiot.
I mean, we've already kind of deciphered that he is one. So I would just love to have a conversation with Drake's managers, Drake's producers, any of them, just to say, hey guys, what were we thinking here? Why did we think that this was an okay song to put on the album?
At the least, he needs some like timely fact checkers or something. There's a line in here, and I went in the comments on YouTube Music just to see what the comments were, and a bunch of Drake fans are like, oh, this bar is hard. It's when he talks about, I RIP like Hulk Hogan. He's talking about Hulk Hogan ripping his shirt off.
Mm-hmm.
But Hulk Hogan is a very out in the open racist. He's used the N-word with the hard R on several occasions. There are recordings of him doing it when talking about his daughter dating black men, saying if you're going to date those N-words, at least date a rich one, things like that. The man's a just total racist.
Oh.
So, like, big upping Hulk Hogan in a bar on your battle rap song that you've put on your Sexy Songs for You album is just a bad idea when you're trying not to be a racist white guy.
Yeah.
So,
Terrible, terrible idea.
so I was trying really hard until track 10. Once we got to Gimme a Hug, which also, the Gimme a Hug thing, the constantly repeating Gimme a Hug when you're talking about going to the club, maybe you as a 40-year-old dude shouldn't be in the club asking girls for hugs. Maybe. Considering
Yeah.
all of the things out there in the ether.
Yes. I'm glad you said this because that was pretty much my entire thing on this song was you have accusations against you about certain things and you're talking about okay, you might not know of this because you don't necessarily have to deal with it when you're out in public, but women,
Oh,
we
I
have
see
a
it.
name for this.
I'm a girl dad. All of my people are women, you know? I see it.
We call it the creepy uncle effect,
Sure.
where it's like, oh, I haven't seen you in so long. You've gotten so big. Come give me a hug.
Give
And
me a
it's
hug.
like,
Yeah.
no thanks. Yeah, that's the vibes that I got off of this song. Was
Me too.
just
It made me
creepy
uncomfortable.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not okay. Let's move off of that song. I think that song's a big miss for a lot of reasons. He also disses Joe Budden in this song, which is a bad idea. Joe Budden can out-rap Drake every day of the week with his eyes closed. So it's just a bad idea. Like, he never, since the end of since Not Like Us, essentially, he hasn't addressed Kendrick directly. So he's just showing his cowardice by now sending a bunch of subliminal shots and then dissing other people in the process. The hip hop card has just been destroyed. You know, I don't think there's a way for him to get it back at this point. I don't think there was after the lawsuit, but now it's even worse. Like, he could have just gone back and made music, and eventually he would have trickled back into some people's playlists.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's less likely now. What was the next aggravating song for you?
I mean, they were all.
I don't know what the track list is.
Aggravating. Yeah, I have it here. It's the third song actually on the album called Something About You.
Okay.
Yeah. Jumping up a little bit here. That was one of the songs, like I mentioned earlier, that at the very beginning I was like, okay, this could have some potential. It wasn't as auto-tuney. But then at exactly 1 minute into the song, he says something about you for 30 seconds straight.
Yeah.
He just repeats something about you for quite literally 30 seconds. I timed it. 30 seconds of just that. And then it like switched up after that and went into Party's verse. And it was just 30 seconds of saying the exact same thing. You're going to lose people's interest, first of all.
Yeah.
And second of all, if you listen to the lyrics that he first said, it didn't really have anything to do with something about you. Like, it was just.
You were going into it pickier than I was, because I don't expect Drake to stay on topic or be thematic, or all I expect from Drake, to be totally honest, all I expect from Drake is, woe is me, I feel so sorry for me, I hope you feel sorry for me too, because no one loves me. Oh, but wait, I'm the biggest superstar in the world, but no one loves me. Oh, wait, I'm the biggest superstar in the world, no one loves me. Don't you feel sorry for me? That's what I expect from Drake for an entire album. That's what he's done for a lot of years now, and it's a really tired formula. And
Yeah.
and that's what was happening. So I would just like was lulled to sleep essentially while listening to it. So I didn't even notice what you were talking about. But there was a moment, I think in Spider-Man, Superman,
Okay.
which
I
is
have
just
some notes about that one too.
it's a couple of songs later. I think he makes a Vanilla Ice reference in that song.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, someone in your camp should have said, pick a different white rapper than Vanilla Ice, because people are automatically going to go, oh, wait, Drake, Vanilla Ice, Drake, Vanilla Ice. I can't tell the difference. That's what they're going to do. That's what I did. And I was almost taken completely out of it at that point, but I was like, okay, get back in, get back in. Drake is not, he doesn't have great lyrics. Don't expect him to, be self-aware of his lyrics. He may not even have written that. He may not have ever said it before it came out of his mouth to record it. I don't know. But I let that go. And then, then we got to song 10.
Yeah. I did realize in a lot of these songs, and I need to fact check this a little deeper, I felt like he repeated lyrics from other albums multiple times. There were just too many little coincidences where I was like, I'm pretty sure I've heard that line before.
I would imagine he did, because I mean that's part of the shtick when you're this deep into it and you don't really have original ideas. And we'll talk about how much of this album is unoriginal down to the artwork and everything else in a few minutes. But I suspect when you just don't have that many original ideas and you're not thinking that far below the surface, you're going to come up with a lot of things that sound really similar. I mean, I think he's written songs about the same topic, I don't know, 150, 200 times now.
Yeah, definitely.
And people love that topic, obviously. I mean, that's why his albums sell what they do, though they have been in steep decline for a while now.
Yeah. One thing on Spider-Man, Superman that I did catch, he, at the very end of the song, or the last couple seconds of the song, he samples from his own song, The Real Her, featuring Lil Wayne. And I think this was a really good, because I recognized the melody right away. And you can kind of hear his lyrics from that song very faintly in the background. I feel like that was a really smart move on Drake's part. I'm giving him a little bit of credit here, or whoever came up with that idea, because it kind of gave me a sense of hope almost that maybe.
I hate to say it because I love Wayne. I especially love mixtape Wayne, but I love Carter 3 and Carter 4 Wayne. But the fact that something that has to do with Lil Wayne is what gives you hope is really sad to me.
No, this song, because the album was still, the album that it's from, I believe it's from Take Care.
Okay.
It was old enough that he was still kind of okay. And so it gave me hope that maybe he was trying to get back to those like old roots. None of that actually happened, but I did get a little sliver of hope.
I saw several people in the comments and on social media saying, oh, we got Take Care Drake back. And I was like, did you listen to the same album I listened to? There was no Take Care Drake in there at all.
No.
Like, I want Thank Me Later Drake, or at worst, Take Care Drake, because for me, after that, it went sharply downhill. But I didn't get any of that.
No. Not at all.
And I think he's past that. I don't think we ever get that Drake back. I think he's too big. He's too unaware of himself. He's too caught up in his ego. I don't think we ever get a hungry Drake back, because if you can lose this badly and still not know you lost, it's hopeless. Like there's
Yeah.
no hope you're getting anything resembling Take Care Drake back. There was a
Yeah.
moment on Small Town Fame, and this actually happened to me a few times throughout the album. This is what I was talking about earlier, that he does a rapper thing. You know, rappers use these similes and metaphors, and he does this like something about Charlie and X on her tongue having a brat summer. So this like 2-bar long Charlie XCX brat metaphor. But all that did for me was make me go, oh yeah, Charlie XCX is way better at this than you. Like that was my immediate thought when he did that. And he did the same thing later in the song Greedy. He says, "This is my confessional." And I immediately thought, oh yeah, Usher is way better at this than you. Like,
Oh my
you're
gosh.
referencing all these people who are actually really good at these things that you're trying to be good at. And you've tricked people or convinced people that you're good at it.
Yeah.
But these people that you're referencing are just way better.
Yeah.
And so it took me out of it. It took me out of the trick that I had fallen into of just mind-numbing background music.
Yeah.
That happened a bunch of times.
I didn't catch the Charlie reference, but again, it was hard for me to hear the lyrics sometimes while I was at work. So I did not catch that reference, but it's absolutely hilarious that he referenced. I believe, didn't she win a Grammy just recently?
She might have, I don't know.
I know she was nominated.
She was
for a lot of
nominated for sure.
Grammys.
Yeah. I mean, for that style of music, Brat is really, really, really well done. Like, it's not an album I'm going to listen to.
Yeah.
I listened to it one time. I recognize that she's good at it. If there was ever a time when I wanted that style of music, I'm going to turn that on. I'm not going to turn this on.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. He's dissing himself.
Anything else leading up to track 10? And then we can go from there, because I have a lot after that.
Which one is track 10?
That one's Give Me a Hug. That one's Creepy Uncle song.
Creepy Uncle, yes. Actually, yes. I would like to really point out, I don't know how you pronounce it, Pimmy's Dilemma.
Where?
It's
Pimmy's Dilemma?
track 8.
Yep.
Yeah. I actually really, really, really loved that song.
Did you? I don't think I gave it a chance, because it was right after Small Town Fame, and I was still thinking about Charlie XCX and how much better she is at this.
Well, here's why I love that song. Drake's not on it.
Is this the woman singing?
It's just the girl that sings throughout the whole thing.
I did like this one.
Yeah.
And I've heard, I don't know Drake albums well enough, but I've heard this is something he does. Is he some up and coming singer will have their whole own song as sort of an interlude on his albums?
He must do that in newer albums.
Okay.
That I have not listened to. After Views in like 2016, I don't really know any of the following albums.
Okay. Well, I read that that's something he does, which I think is very cool.
Yeah.
Except for after what Kendrick just did on GNX, where he puts on a whole bunch of LA rappers that no one knew about, who now have Grammys and platinum plaques and are still on, have been at the top of the Billboard charts for months now. After he did that, and after Kendrick really showed love to the Mexican and Latino community in Los Angeles, Drake then sings a song in Spanish that is terrible, that's really bad, that had me really
Yeah.
confused. Like I was trying to figure out what the fuck was happening.
Yeah.
And I feel like once he got to track 10, once he got to Give Me a Hug, he reverted back to old Drake. He reverted back to all of the Drake cliches, to all of the criticisms people have about him. He just leaned into them and he thought they were cute. Like he rapped in Spanish. There was a song where, like, I know Party has Jamaican roots. Drake goes into this patois like he's Jamaican. And I get that, like, some people call that versatility. I don't think it's versatility. I think it's appropriation.
Yeah.
To a large degree, because he doesn't do it in a way that's paying homage. He does it in a way that is taking things from other people.
Yeah. It almost felt like he was making fun.
That's what I felt
Of
like in the Spanish song. It felt like a
yeah.
parody.
It sounded like he was making a joke. And I was very confused at first as well because I was waiting for him to come out of it. Like maybe he just wanted to say like a verse in Spanish and it didn't ever really come out of that. I
Yeah.
think he does rap a little bit in that song, I think, in English.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. He comes
Okay,
in and
yeah.
out of the Spanish, but I think it's only because he doesn't know the words and can't pronounce the words or something. So it's kind of
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it felt like a joke.
And the song right after that is Nokia, which I thought was kind of a jam for a minute. Like I was like, okay, here's one. And then he did the same thing he did with the Charlie XCX, where he mentions he's talking to a woman and he says something like, I see your waist got slimmer or your waist got smaller. And that immediately made me think of BBL Drizzy and his surgery to make it look like he had a six pack. And I was like, man, your self-awareness is zero right now. Like
Yeah, my man did not go there, but I love that your mind of all people went there. I
like,
think
come
that's
on, man.
incredible.
Like, really? Are you that unaware of your own ridiculousness that I can't. Maybe he just has no ego at all and that doesn't bother him. Maybe. It would bother me to say something like that, knowing that there are people out there who have me under a microscope right now and are going to hear this and immediately go, BBL Drizzy. So I couldn't help it.
Yeah, see, that's not where my mind went because that is one of the lines that popped out in that poem for me. But me being so protective of women, I just immediately thought, how can you be so like openly disrespectful? Just
Well,
openly
I think that's why I noticed it to begin with, because as a rock climbing coach, I deal with a lot of people who have body image issues and weight issues. So I'm sensitive to those things. But it didn't take longer than half a second for me to be like, this, you have this issue too. Like, you got surgery to make it look like you have a six pack.
Is that confirmed?
I think so.
Did he really?
I think so.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that was a surgery.
Oh, sure. Everything. You can make yourself look like a dragon if you want to.
That's true. Oh man, that's crazy.
And then the next song, this is the worst 3-song run in history. Mitra Padre, Nokia. Oh, it's not the next song. It's 2 songs later. He gets the Celibacy.
Oh.
First off, I'm not buying the title of Celibacy to begin with. But then he says, we not like them, they not like us. In the song. I was like, Come on,
Can
man.
he do that?
Sure, he can do that. They're just words.
Can he say that?
And here's the thing, Kendrick wouldn't sue. Like, Kendrick's not going to
No.
do that.
But doesn't that affect his own lawsuit in some
Well,
kind of way?
that was my question. Like, if you're making light of this song that you have a pending lawsuit about, if you can joke about your own defamation, is it really defamation?
Right.
So I don't think he's very smart. I said earlier he's not entirely dumb, but I don't think he's very smart either. He obviously knows how to make a certain kind of music, and he's very good at that, and I cannot even try to take that away from him. And he's really good at being a chameleon. He can take styles and turn them into his own and make it seem like he's this happy-go-lucky guy who studies rap battles for a living. But he's not very smart.
No.
This was dumb.
I want to kind of hit on the Doechii video that we made a couple weeks ago or last week or whatever. I think I had said in the video that Doechii was trying to be forced to fit into this mold within the industry, and she is now creating her own mold to fit into.
Yeah.
Drake has not left that mold and just keep forming around the industry mold.
Yeah.
To the point that you made, that he's never going to get out of that.
No.
He knows whatever formula there is to write a song, make a song that's gonna end up on the radio, gonna end up in the clubs, gonna be remixed by DJs that are gonna be good to dance to and sing along to, because the lyrics aren't hard enough to sing along to.
Yeah, and there's a place for that. Like I'm not opposed to music for the clubs. Like I spent a lot of years going to clubs. I enjoy that atmosphere, you know. Not anymore. I'm 50 years old. I'm not going to the clubs. Drake's still going to be going to the clubs when he's 50 years old. He's still going to be asking 20-year-old women for hugs. Repeatedly. Give me a hug. Give me a hug. Over and over. He's the creepy uncle. Anyway. There's a place for that music, and I have nothing against that music. But what I want from an artist is growth over time. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's been any growth from Drake in a long time. I don't think he grows. I think he makes lateral moves. Like he'll take from this culture, then take from this culture, then take from this culture. But he never goes up here. He never steps up to another level. He never accesses a new part of himself. He only accesses parts from other cultures. Yeah. And that's where I think it's a real problem. We haven't seen enough of Doechii to, make a comparison in that way. But one thing that Doechii does in a really authentic way that Drake is really fucking up now is she respects what came before, and she respects her position in regards to those artists. Yeah. I don't think Drake does. I think Drake just thinks he's the king of the mountain, and that's that. There's no other conversation to be had. Yeah. And I think that's a dangerous place for anybody anywhere. And also, it's probably hard not to fall into that trap when you're as successful as he is. So, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt in that it's probably really fucking hard to be self-aware when you're Drake. I mean, we watched Michael Jackson fall apart. We watched Prince become a hermit. We've watched all sorts of, Dave Chappelle had to go to Africa and disappear and not even show up for his own show anymore because he was getting too big. It's gotta be a crazy hard life to live, you know? So,
Yeah.
but you have to fight back against it. You can't just be passively accepting it, or people are going to think of you this way.
Right. Yeah. I kind of get from this situation of Drake not really going anywhere, but also not really helping his case with an album like this. It kind of gives me Kanye West vibes of
Yeah.
just like you keep doing things that are just hurting your cause. You just keep making it worse and worse and worse.
Totally. And
Yeah.
you know, since I already drew the GNX comparison, I'll continue down that road a little bit. Like GNX has a lot of radio songs. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's got bangers on it, period. I don't think you can debate that. There are songs on this that are going to be played on the radio for sure.
Yeah.
But what GNX does really well is it brings a sense of place and identity to the album, to Kendrick. And even though this is one of the biggest problems I have with this project is the cover is these towers in Canada, in Mississauga, I think it is, Canada, the Marilyn Monroe Towers. The Drake is Canadian. Party, I believe, is also Canadian with Jamaican heritage.
Okay.
There's no Canada on this album. There's
No.
he talks about Miami, he talks about Houston, he talks, you know, he goes all these places. So it's the same sense of having no grounding, like having no root that I get from his music in general. Is what I get from this album. And one of the things I love about an Illmatic, a Chronic, a GNX, Outkast's albums are very Atlanta, you know?
Yeah.
Wu-Tang is very New York. It feels like New York. It is New York. Drake doesn't have a sense of place. He doesn't have an identity other than larger than life superstar who is just floating on his own ego. That's the only identity I get. And that's a little sad, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, how do you present a Canadian sound?
I don't know.
How do you
And I don't know that because Drake hasn't done it. I only know what New York sounds like because New York artists did it. I know what Atlanta sounds like because Future did it, because Outkast did it, because the Dungeon Family created it. I only know what LA sounds like because of Dr. Dre and NWA and Ice Cube and Kendrick.
Yeah.
And I know what the Bay Area sounds like because of E40 and because of Mustard. I know what all these places sound like because artists have created an identity for that place. I don't know what Toronto sounds like.
No.
This was a really good opportunity for Drake to do that.
Yeah. I could maybe argue views he was trying to give you a Toronto sound. Maybe. But this definitely was not any kind of identity or sound or anything of that nature. It was just confusing. The whole album was so confusing.
I wasn't confused by the first 9 songs. I thought the first 9 songs were meh, middle of the road, formulaic. I don't even want to call it R&B because I think that's degrading to R&B, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call this genre of music. It's not for me, so I don't really know. And speaking of degrading R&B, I'm going to go back to track 10. So in Give Me a Hug, there's the beat switch, and in the lyrics he says, beat switch. You're a genius. That's never been done before. But to his credit, in those YouTube music comments that I looked at, lots of people were like, did you hear that? He said beat switch and the beat switched. If that's your audience and your audience is excited by a thing that's been done over and over and over and over, then sure, give it to them. But anyway,
Yeah.
then he samples Aaron Hall. This is another one of those cases where maybe someone in your team should have been checking on things, because Aaron Hall is an R&B legend for sure, but he's also been accused of some sexual assaults. There's an interview where he talks about being at one of Diddy's freak-offs and Diddy watching him have sex with some woman. So if you're Drake and you're in the situation you're in with people looking at you the way they're looking at you, maybe you don't sample Aaron Hall, I Miss You, on a song called Give Me a Hug.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Someone on his team set him up.
Could be.
That's exciting.
Kendrick said there's some OVO people working for him, so I mean, it could be. But talking about that identity thing, I thought the cover of the album was cool when I saw it. I was like, oh, that's a cool image. Like these interesting towers and these warm colors with everything else looks cold and snow and these big firs. Though the big firs gave me like Star Wars, Ice Planet of Hoth vibes that were a little weird.
Yeah.
It made me think of Luke Skywalker climbing into the Tauntaun or whatever that thing is. But apparently this image comes from a video of another Toronto rapper or Mississauga rapper who made a video in front of these towers, and PARTYNEXTDOOR called him and they had like a 2 or 3 hour long conversation about it. And Party loved that he did it in front of these towers, and Drake was trying to sign him and all these things. And then they come out with this cover of the album. The first song on the album is CN Tower, which initially I thought, oh, that must be the CN Towers on the front. But the CN Tower is that Space Needle looking thing. That I think was the one
that he's sitting on Views?
Yeah, I think that's
that's
the cover of Views, I think, is the CN Tower. So this is not even the CN Tower. So it's a little frustrating that the cover image seems to be taken directly from a video of a small Toronto area artist who actually is pretty good. I listened to the song that this video. The video's pretty good. The song is pretty good. It's better rapping than Drake has done since Take Care. And then also the Some Sexy Songs for You, the money symbol for Some Sexy Songs, those 3 money symbols. Freddie Gibbs had an album called Soul Sold Separately, and all 3 of those S's are soul sold separately. All 3 of the S's are money symbols. And if you look at the back cover of Some Sexy Songs for You, there are 3 rabbits with like heart eyes and money symbols. Those are straight from Freddie Gibbs's artwork. Like, he uses rabbits with heart eyes and money symbol eyes all the time. It's like part of his brand. There's no other reason to have rabbits. It's not Easter, it's Valentine's Day. So
could they? Oh no, because it's.
I tried to find a rabbit connection with PARTYNEXTDOOR. There's nothing. But if you look up Freddie Gibbs rabbit,
Playboy?
These come up immediately. No, they're like cartoon character rabbits.
Oh.
It's just, it's lack of originality. It's feeling like they can have whatever they want.
Mm.
At least that's what I get from it.
Yeah.
And when you're not going to be original, when you're not going to have original concepts for even your artwork, which Drake could put out any artwork he wants. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be this cool image that he nearly directly took. And it's not like this other dude, John. Yeah, I already forgot his name. It's John something. Let me see. I Googled it earlier.
Now, is this them recreating the video, or is this straight up out of the video?
It's not straight out of it. It's different tones, different colors, but the positioning is very much the same. Like shot from the same angle. They're the same size relative to the towers. The same sort of stark image. So it's not like he can say, "You stole my image." You know, he can't. There's no copyright violation. But it's very clear that it was inspired by that.
Mm.
And I think you have to say that. You have to
Yeah.
credit the kid something, you know?
Yeah.
Interestingly, though,
featuring a song.
Interestingly, it's a 3-year-old song. The video they took this idea from, and in it he says something to the effect of, "You're still writing your Kendrick Lamar diss records," something like that. Right after he mentions OVO, so I just thought it was really funny. But it's just that lack of originality on the cover art, on the back of it, on the way they styled the title. The album itself lacks originality.
Yeah.
I tried to give it a chance, and he stood in the way of me giving it a really honest chance. That's how it felt.
Absolutely.
He got in his own way throughout the whole album.
Oh yeah. I definitely went in with an open mind.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
I went in with as open a mind as possible.
Yes.
Which wasn't all that open, to be honest.
It was more open for me because I know who PARTYNEXTDOOR is, and I enjoy his music. There was one summer he was all I listened to. But I just was so disappointed so quickly because Party wasn't represented very well on this album, and
yeah, that's a
Drake
bummer.
and he overshadowed him, but not in a good way. So it was just so hard. It was hard.
Yeah. Well, we've been bagging on Drake for almost an hour now. And that's not at all what I intended to do. And normally, to be honest, I wouldn't bother reviewing an album that I thought was this bad. It just feels very relevant to the situation. It's very relevant to why we're making this show to begin with. You know, it was this battle that really got us talking about music and hip hop again, and really got me excited again. Battle rapping is one of the reasons I got into hip hop back in the 80s. So it feels very relevant to me to see what Drake does next. I wanted to see what happens to a person when they lose this badly. Like Ja Rule's career got derailed by 50 Cent and Eminem, but that's really the only time someone's career has been derailed that badly. It happened a long time ago in the 80s. MC Shan's career was never the same when KRS took him out. But careers were much shorter back then. We didn't know any better. I wanted to see what Drake would do, and I think this is a big misstep.
Yeah. And you said it earlier, if he had gone a different direction, he probably would have just kind of phased out and then got back up. Do you really think that he won't ever get back up given his status, given how famous he is?
I think he will in pop music. I don't think it's going to affect him that much as far as
Yeah.
pop music goes. It'll affect the numbers, but actually the numbers might go up for this album. That's what I think will probably happen, because
Yeah,
people are
because
interested in Drake. The same thing that
Yep.
all the Drake fans have been saying about Kendrick, like he has to, ride on Drake to get his only number one albums. The reason Drake's numbers are going to go up for this album, if they do, is because of this battle. People
Yeah.
are interested again because of this battle. They want to see what happens when you've been beaten and, Kendrick said it, I just strangled me a goat. When you've been strangled that bad, what happens to your career? What do you do next? I wanted to see it, and I don't even like Drake's music. So the numbers are going to go up for that alone. I don't think it's going to hurt his career that badly. He's a
Yeah.
pop superstar. He's not a hip hop star.
Yeah.
I think he's been accepted as hip hop by a lot of people who are rethinking that acceptance. Because, like it or not, hip hop is a culture before it's a music genre. And what Drake did is not hip hop at all. So
Yeah.
I
Indeed.
don't think he's ever going to be accepted back into that culture. He's further away from it than he's ever been. So, but it's not going to hurt his money.
No.
And that seems to
He'll
be
still,
what he cares about.
yeah, he'll still have sold out shows where he walks out with bullet holes all in his sweatshirt with smoke coming out the back. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Oh yeah, I saw that. And that's to my point of there's no self-awareness. Like,
No.
Kendrick didn't walk out like that. Kendrick doesn't even reference it except for the songs that already reference it. You know? And when Kendrick does it, he's smiling and joking. Like he says, I want to play their favorite song, but they love to sue. He's joking. He's smiling when he does it. Drake he's hurt about it, but he's still going to go on stage acting like I'm so hard. I took all these shots and I walked away. Yeah, but now you're full of bullet holes and you're smoking. Like,
yeah, right.
You didn't walk away unscathed. This guy's over here. Yeah, this guy's over here playing the Super Bowl, winning Grammys. You're walking out on stage with bullet holes in your t-shirt and smoke coming out of your back. You didn't walk away unscathed. This is scathed. This is the definition of scathed. So it's silly. There's no self-awareness. Like you don't walk out that way unless your fans are, and I'm not trying to be derogatory here, but if your fans don't want music that they are going to think deeper about, then you can do that shit. And if that's the music you're going to make, that's your lane. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
All right. I'm done Drake hating. All right. You done? You good?
I'm good.
All right. I love you.
Love you.